Ahmad Rashad over the years, who you knew from the University of Oregon, who you knew from NBC, who worked with me at ABC and ESPN, who has been around sports for half a century. Nobody loves golf more than Ahmad, who did a stint on Golf Channel. Are you in a place where you can play golf, Ahmad?
No, I am not. I can putt in my backyard as long as I
All
stay
right.
away from my wife or my daughter. So it's just me and my dog putting. But no, you can't. No, I think the next county up, Martin County, you can play.
Okay. All right. So see, if you see Ahmad coming to your county, you understand what it is. What has it been for you over the years? Your love of the sport of golf, because you have really been one of those people who's fallen in love with the game over the last 20, 30 years.
I realize it's probably the best sport that I've ever attempted to play because it's personal. Everybody has their own personal demons that they have to sort of work through. And it's also a game that the best can play with the worst. You can always get shots. And it doesn't hurt to have one of the game's greatest players be one of your best friends that'll play with you whenever you want, and that's Tiger Woods. So that's a lot of fun. But it's a game you can play forever. It's, you can play as you're young, and as you get older, it becomes more and more about more than golf. And I honestly, like I said before, I think it's the best game in the world.
We're going to ask you about Michael here in a little bit because of the documentary that's coming up. But you mentioned Tiger, being close with him, and obviously your friendship with Michael Jordan over the years. What do you see similar in both of those guys that has made them in many cases, a lot of folks believe the greatest in their individual sports over time?
That is a great question. What I see in these two guys is their quest for excellence. And nobody determines what that excellence is except them. They're competing with themselves. They're trying to be the best they can possibly be, and they have never set any sort of limits. When people say the sky's the limit, well, their limit is past that, and they work extremely hard to get to where they want to be. And and one of the things about both of them is I'm talking about workouts. They are just fanatical. When Michael was playing, he never missed a workout. He worked harder than anybody I'd ever seen. And me being an athlete myself, and having seen sort of the things that people put themselves through to get ready, prepared to play, these two guys, I've never seen anybody be more dedicated than them. Tiger, the other day I'm talking to him, it's 5:30 in the morning, he just came from working out. Or hey, dude, what are you doing, man? I'm sweating my ass off. I just came out of the gym. And you're thinking, it's like it's 5:30 a.m. So it's the drive. It's the will to be the best. It's just, it's one of those things that sports is all about. You want to try to be the best you can possibly be. And now who's going to sit down and go, oh, you know what? I'm going to do whatever it takes to be the best I can be. Those two guys are two examples that have done that.
And you brought up a really interesting point because it's like John Madden. There's a generation or two that didn't know that Madden coached. There's a whole generation of folks who have seen you on TV and on Inside Stuff back in the 90s and all that, who didn't know Bobby Moore, the receiver at Oregon, who was in the College Football Hall of Fame, or know the guy who's in the Ring of Honor with the Minnesota Vikings and had some really good years. Did you see any athletes when you were doing that, or that internal drive that you had, that could compare to where Tiger and Jordan have taken their mental and physical combination?
There were, and you said it perfectly, because it's not just physical, it's also mental. It's a way that very few people that I've ever met or ever been around that have the natural born talent, but the wherewithal to find the whatever it is inside of them that makes them want to excel, that cannot take being second ever. It's just not a part of who they are. And to try to keep up with them is almost impossible. But they sort of lead by doing. And I guess when we talk about Michael, we'll talk more about that. But no, these two guys, these are guys that you talk about workaholics. You see some people that work so hard and they go, the guy made the team because he worked so hard. well, here's two guys that were the best that have ever done it that worked twice as hard as they did.
We were talking about Michael Jordan. The documentary that ESPN is going to start running here. I think a lot of us who are sports fans and were anywhere near a TV or around those teams a little bit are excited to see it. So, Ahmad, the whole deal with the Gatorade commercial was be like Mike, right? What was it like to be around Mike during those times?
You know, it wasn't just Michael, but the Chicago Bulls were like the Beatles. I mean, if you can imagine what that was like, no matter where they went, there was always a huge following. The hotels were full of people. The cars were full of all kinds of, wherever you went, you'd find people everywhere. My relationship with Michael was sort of different, is because when NBC, I think we had just lost football and we just got basketball. And so in order to do basketball, there was a situation where I had with David Stern to do a show called Inside Stuff. That was going to be NBC is going to be our foray into the NBA. And I was going to be the host of that. So I needed to get myself out and sort of get people used to, this was at a point when people knew I was a football player and they knew I did football at that point. So this was the point of me trying to establish myself as also a basketball fan and a basketball reporter. So Michael, Magic Johnson had this game in the summertime called Summers something. It was an all-star game where all the guys in the league would come out and stay in LA for 3 or 4 days and they'd play in an all-star game. And so NBC was going to televise that, for our sort of jump off into the NBA. So I went out there, and before I went out there, here's something that's pretty interesting. Before I went out there, now the guy that really got me into Michael Jordan in terms of a player was John McEnroe. Now, John McEnroe is a huge basketball fan. I mean, huge. And we talked on the phone all the time. Yeah, we talked on the phone all the time about this and that and the other. And he'd go, hey, have you seen this Michael Jordan guy at North Carolina? I went, yeah, I've seen him a couple of times. He said, well, we got to watch him. So for the next few weeks and up till, I think, 82 when they won the championship, we would watch the games, and all of a sudden I got, man, this guy's really good. And then went away, not went away, but I was always a fan after that and watching the whole thing. So now I go to this All-Star game as NBC starting to do it. And Michael and I meet. We shake hands and we meet and we talk for a little while. Hey, what's up? And there's kind of something between us that it's like when you and I met. When you and I met, there was something between us that, hey, pretty cool dude. What's up, man? How you doing? How's everything? I'm a big fan of yours. Exactly. It was sort of things like that. That's what happened between him and I. And from that day on, we changed numbers. It was in the summer of whatever that was. We changed numbers, and almost a week didn't go by that we weren't on the phone saying, how you doing? What's going on? Talking about everything but basketball. Basketball was never the first thing that we always talked about. We just talked about normal stuff, music, clothes, shoes, just normal stuff that guys would sort of talk about. And that's where our relationship sort of started. Now, also during that time, there was only one game of the week. There weren't, double headers. There weren't every team playing every day of the week. There was one game on Sunday, and that was the big game. And we also had Inside Stuff. Now, Michael and I had become friends at that point, so I could get him to do Inside Stuff whenever I wanted, which was on his rise up to being the greatest in the world. I think a lot of people looked at it as like, that's not fair. There's no way Ahmad must be just sucking up in there. But it wasn't any of that at all. It was just like, hey, dude, can you come do this thing with me tomorrow? Yeah, no problem. We'll do it. So that relationship sort of grew that way. But as the Bulls got better and better, and NBC had them on every Sunday, and they had that access with me, it was just natural that you look at it this way. At the end of the game on Sunday, my job was to talk to the best player in that game. Well, every week it was always him. It was always him. Yeah, and so when you look back for it, every time they were on the TV, like if they were playing in Chicago, I'd go to Chicago on Saturday night. I'd spend the night at the house with him and his family, the whole thing. We'd ride to the games together. I'd go do the television. He'd do the game. I'd introduce him after the game. And that's kind of the way it went. And that's the way our sort of
Pretty
relationship
cool.
went. And then we
Hey,
ended up doing all kinds of stuff.
no, it's great. Hey, we only have 30 seconds. I know you're still close with Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner.
Yeah.
What's your read on where we are in getting a basketball season finished this year? How important it is to the folks in the league?
I think it's extremely important for them to try to get something done by the end of this year, but not to the point of risking anything or rushing. Adam has proven himself to be one of the finest commissioners of all time, and he will do the right thing in terms of when and how to bring this thing back to fruition and keep it going with the safety of everybody being the most important thing.
All-time pro, you tell Ahmad 30 seconds, he still gives you 29. He's as good as it gets. Hey, it is great to see you. It's great to catch up again. Thanks for the stories. I know you got 100 stories, and we look forward to hearing a bunch of them, and we'll catch up soon. We'll be in touch. Thanks, man.
Mike, always good to see you. Much love, brother.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.